And when you take a look at what modernization does, it does emulate the conditions that were put under the Mouse Utopia experiment. And ultimately, over time, what it did was it disoriented that group of people from their natural environment, replaced it with the social environment that ultimately was so successful that it didn't need to perform traditional roles, which is.
As for the gentleman speaking at the beginning of this video, if you know, you know. But this gentleman speaks to the fact that technology is progressing at such a rapid speed that many of the historical norms for human interaction are being stressed, if not fraying altogether. And in such a vacuum where many people are trying to fill voids that traditionally were filled by other people in more traditional societies, there enters a need for pseudoscience.
I have 25 years worth of experience with males. I've worked with them.
But you've never been with a man, have you?
Yeah, I was married.
Oh, okay.
And I'm technically still married. I'm still under paperwork.
Okay.
You reward them for minimal effort, they never will transcend. And since sex is the most important thing to a male, if you give it to him too easy, he's done.
There you go.
If you give it to him too easy,
yeah,
he's done. You're saying sex is the most important thing for a man?
For a male.
For a male.
Male. See, a man, that's a totally different thing.
Ah.
Yeah.
So if you give it to him too easy, what happens?
You'll squelch his nature, because males lose a lot of energy through sex biologically.
What do you mean?
This is Queen Priscilla, also dubbed the female Kevin Samuels, and she is a thought leader of sorts in terms of relationships for women dealing with modern dating. And from the beginning, she speaks of the fact that women should not easily give sex to males. Now, she does make a distinction between men and males, but she's going to elaborate on her idea of men getting quote unquote scorched.
Biologically.
What do you mean scorch his nature?
So males work on a reward system in their brain. So when you keep his reward away, it keeps him moving, trying to figure out how to gain it.
Yeah, because you want to hunt.
You want to hunt,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's predatory, hunter predatory. That's what it is. If it's too easy of a prey, one, he gets bored. Two, he doesn't respect you. Three, he has no desire to achieve anything. So a lot of these guys, because masculine energy is a moving energy that never stops, it just keeps going. You have to keep that energy going. And if you stop it by taking water and throwing it on it, he just won't accomplish anything.
Here, Priscilla is suggesting an award system as a means of controlling the men her followers want advice manipulating. Of course, this exposes the first fallacy in her pseudoscience, because the small group of men these women would like to exercise control over have abundant options, and the men not in that group are simply invisible to her audience.
Taking water and throwing it on it, he just won't accomplish anything.
And what do you mean by the water? Sex?
Sex, anything. Sex, whatever you want. Like, even Kobe Bryant had issues with his teammates. He never would have passed them the ball, because it's like, okay, I got to the NBA, that's my end goal. But as a man, it's not a destination. You have to keep finding something to go for. If you don't, and you just get what you were after, you will just become complacent and you'll start to regress.
Aside from the fact that she uses a gentleman like Kobe Bryant, the ultra select type of man that many of her clientele would like to be pursued by, she essentially boils down male motivation to the desire to achieve sexual access. Of course, this is problematic because it's extremely simplistic, and it glosses over the nuance of what motivates men to perform at high levels. Things like reputation, taking care of offspring, even honor are simply not taken into her consideration.
So a lot of these guys have not found a mental or spiritual purpose, and their biological purpose is women. And since they're so easy to get, and they never get into a mental space where they have another goal, they end up just running through women, and they never do anything at all.
That's right.
A lot of modern women are not going to give men that grace when it comes to, being 60-40.
Well, a lot of these women are talking about, either the man has to pay 100% of the bills, they have to do nothing. This is where their soft life comes into play, and they're not going to give any type of what they call submission at all.
First and foremost, there's something that happens in the male's brain where he doesn't respect women, and that happens when testosterone really starts kicking in. And the reason is because the male's biological goal is to consume women, to get his genes into another body.
This is a clear illustration of how many men in the current day environment are simply invisible in the dating market. When you hear the gross assumptions of men, it's clear that the group of men being referred to are not average men, but only the men that these women are interested in. The idea of the average man building a family with his counterpart doesn't even enter the conversation. This is the modern dating environment that many average, normal, hardworking men are simply locked out of.
You said that this was about the Industrial Revolution, and how the cultures are changing because of it. BJS was right.
It goes all the way back to the custody of infants, starting in 1804, 10 years doctrine, right? That started to shift because of the factories taking the kids and the women out of the home, and then women found independence, and then they want to leave their husbands because they had their own money, and then they didn't want to leave their kids, so there was a big fight over the kids. So this is how they settled it. Okay, get the first 7 years. Then after that's fathers, and then the United States extended that to 16 years, which is basically an adult. So basically, eliminate just about killed the whole patriarchy.
When you look at the motivations of human beings, and we take a look at most, we'll just keep it 100. If you're a dude in the developed first world, your first order of business of getting in a position to be able to provide beyond just for yourself is for the hope to have a family. I don't know too many people who go out of their way to make more than the national average just so they could spend that money on themselves. I think there's a reasonable assumption that the majority of us go out of our way so that we can have a stable environment to potentially raise children and have a family with.
So what is the answer for the average man in a dating environment where more and more young ladies are hearing advice like this from Priscilla and applying this advice to get a better shot at the men at the top of the food chain, of which they all desire, but are least likely to commit? Well, it creates a untenable dating environment where some guys, like the Passport Bros, are saying, this is my only hope for having a traditional family. And for other guys like Sysbm to say, I think I'm just going to find something that's less toxic if I can find anything at all. What cannot be understated is whatever is happening is something that is not only untenable, but it's a game that the average man simply can't win. What should the average man do? Well, it looks like it's time for the average man to think outside the box, because maybe thinking outside the box is the only option available. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, comment below. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take care, guys.